This is On the Hunt at foxnews.com. Hello, everybody. I'm Jonathan Hunt. Benjamin Netanyahu looks set for a fourth term as Israeli Prime Minister after his Likud party won a resounding victory in the election. Mr. Netanyahu campaigned in the last days on a right-wing agenda, saying that he no longer recognizes or will accede to a Palestinian state. So the two-state solution is no longer part of the Israeli government's policy. There were a lot of cheers, as you can see, in the Likud party headquarters. There were probably not so many cheers in the White House. President Obama has had a difficult relationship, as we all know, with the Israeli Prime Minister. So what does this all mean for the Middle East going forward, and indeed for relations between Benjamin Netanyahu and President Obama? To discuss all of this, I'm joined by Oren Kessler, who is Deputy Research Director with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Oren, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
First of all, what on earth is going on with the Israeli polling system and exit polls? We were told this was a really tight race. Even when those exit polls came out, the initial word was it was too close to call. And yet now, as we get more results, a resounding victory is the only way to describe it for Netanyahu.
The preliminary polls that came out in the lead-up to the election were, as you state, were quite different from what we actually got yesterday, and it's attributable to a few things. I think Israel is an extremely fractious society. I think it's very difficult to put a pollster in every community or to call up enough homes to make a representative sample, as it were. I think a lot of people just simply changed their minds as well in the lead up to the election. They weren't sure until they cast that ballot who they were going to vote for. And then in terms of exit polls, which also were not particularly accurate, I'm seeing a lot of anecdotal evidence that people just simply didn't want to say who they had voted for, particularly people who voted for right-of-center parties. But this seems to be a certain trend among Israeli voters to simply not want to say.
Oren, do you think that this was a straightforward choice for a lot of Israelis between the opposition, who were talking more about economic issues, and Mr. Netanyahu, who made it, certainly in the last days, all about the security of Israel's citizens? Is that what it came down to? More people care about security than their own economic well-being, perhaps?
I think security and economics are certainly the two main issues here. It's hard to say exactly which one trumped the other. It's true that Netanyahu has a reputation as sort of Mr. Security, or he certainly tries to hold up that own reputation for himself. But let's not forget that the kingmaker in this election is a man by the name of Moshe Kahlon, who was a former Likud minister. And he's gotten about 10 seats, and his platform, his vision, is an economic one. He has won a lot of fans among the Israeli public by lowering mobile phone rates, and he's gunning for the finance minister position, which I think Netanyahu will probably give him. So security is absolutely a major issue, but economics are as well.
All right, the refusal by Netanyahu in the last days, or his announcement that he will not consider a Palestinian state, it will not happen on his watch. That is a pretty dramatic statement from an Israeli Prime Minister. It's the basis, obviously, the two-state solution has been the basis of peace talks for so long, and now that is out the window. How important and significant a statement is that? And do you think he really means it, or was it just election campaigning?
Well, Netanyahu first indicated that he would strive for a two-state solution back in 2009, and it was a major step for him. No Likud prime minister had ever made that step before, and he suffered quite a bit for it within his own base for going that far. Now, the fact that he's now walked this back, I do think has a lot to do with electioneering, and I think he will have to walk back his latest statement as well if he wants to maintain any sort of shred with the U.S. government, shred of a relationship with the U.S. government, which, as you mentioned, is quite tattered already, that relationship. So I would expect over the coming days and weeks, after Netanyahu has presumably cobbled together a coalition, for him to walk back that statement and say, well, look, the region is aflame. There's ISIS in Syria and Iraq, potentially in Jordan, in Sinai as well. There's an ISIS branch that's very active. We have the threats of Hamas and Hezbollah. And simply in these circumstances, it's very difficult to see the circumstances being right. But if things change, I might be open to reconsidering. I think we'll hear that sort of sentiment.
And what we're probably not likely to see him walk back the statement that he would pursue more settlement construction in East Jerusalem. Given the experience we've seen with him over the years, that's something he will stick to. And the Palestinians have made it very clear that that is a major impediment to any peace talks in their mind.
Right. Even at his most conciliatory, Netanyahu has made quite clear that while settlements in the West Bank are up for discussion, neighborhoods in East Jerusalem are a different category. Netanyahu and the Likud, and indeed many Israelis, view Jerusalem as their capital. They want it to remain united. Many Israelis do. Netanyahu simply puts Jerusalem in a different category. And as you mentioned, the Palestinians certainly do not. And the U.S. has indicated on more than one occasion that it finds building in East Jerusalem to be, quote, unhelpful.
So, Oren, what does it all mean for the U.S.-Israeli relationship? Are we inevitably going from bad to worse?
Well, the relationship is not a good one between President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Now, without getting into which leader is at fault for that bad relationship or who's more at fault, the fact of the matter is that President Obama will remain president for the next 2 years, roughly, and the fact remains that U.S.-Israeli relations probably would have been better had Netanyahu's rival Isaac Herzog won. Now, Israelis have cast their votes. The majority of Israelis, or a plurality, clearly feels otherwise, that Netanyahu is better for the country. But in terms of simply getting along between Washington and Jerusalem, I don't foresee things going particularly smoothly in the weeks and months ahead. And indeed, it's taken the Obama administration quite a bit of time to say anything about this election. There has still not been a formal statement of congratulations. I think that's a testament to the really rocky relationship that we've seen.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to watch in the coming weeks and months, a relationship between President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Oren Kessler with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, this has been On the Hunt at foxnews.com.